The nervous system perceives whatever the next level is as a literal threat. So if their nervous system feels like the next level is going to be above the capacity of safety outside of their window of tolerance, then no matter how much they think about expanding to that next level, they will continue to find ways to self-sabotage subconsciously. When we activate the subconscious mind through the breath, we're telling the body, hey, I've got it. I've got control of the breath right now. You can stand down. It's safe. It comes with consistency and it comes with practice. So if you add breath or whatever somatic practice you have into your life in a consistent way, then you'll begin to see the benefits. Paying attention to your energy and what makes you feel good and what makes you feel not good is a beautiful starting place. And it's something that will absolutely change everything. And your people are learning from you every day in every interaction. I always say healing heals forward. So everyone in your ecosystem benefits from our own healing.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you've ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to, and you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing presented by Sacred You, a community empowering people all over the world. My name is Helen Prince and it is my pleasure to introduce you today to Brenda Winkle. Welcome, Brenda.
Hi, Helen. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to have you here. So Brenda is a dynamic speaker, intuitive coach, psychic medium, and energetic leader who empowers visionary leaders to lead with more ease, alignment, and intuition. And I love that you're working with people who are in the spotlight, so to speak, because often we can look at people who are out there doing these things and they're in front of people, and we can sometimes have these misconceptions that they've got it all going on and they're living the dream and they're doing everything right. We don't know what's actually going on under the surface, what happens before they step onto the stage, that sort of thing. So I love that you're working with people in that sort of role. What are some of the common things that you find they have? What are the things that sort of stop them from going from here to here?
I think that there's three main things. One is their nervous system. So if their nervous system feels like the next level is going to be above the capacity of safety outside of their window of tolerance, then no matter how much they think about expanding to that next level, they will continue to find ways to self-sabotage subconsciously because the nervous system perceives whatever the next level is as a literal threat. And so that's one thing. And so a lot of the leaders that I work with, we're just helping their nervous systems understand that they're safe.
How do you do that though? How do you work with their nervous system?
So everyone has a unique nervous system. There are some maps that are universal. We all have the sympathetic nervous system, which is I'm going to call it the active nervous system. That's the nervous system that we're using when we're at work, largely. We're thinking. And it's the nervous system that also contains the stress response, where we might go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. And so when we're in the parasympathetic nervous system, we've activated the vagus nerve, which means that all of our internal organs are now functioning optimally. Our body feels safe. And so usually, if everything's working well, we can toggle between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. In our modern culture, it's very common for us to get stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. And so then we're running a stress response all of the time. And now I'm going to mention another map. And so these are not different. They're just a different way to think about it. We have the autonomic nervous system, which controls all the things you don't have to think about, like your stomach digests its food without you having to do anything. And then we have the somatic nervous system. And the somatic nervous system is everything else. It's your nerves, it's your ability to move your arms. And then there's a couple of crossovers, a couple of things that link both of those. One of those is breath, and the other is our eyes. So we can control our eyes. We can decide how fast or slow we want to blink, or we can let the body just take control of the eyes. And the same thing is with the breath. And so the breath has a really special gift in that it connects the subconscious to the conscious mind. So going back to the first map of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, when we activate the subconscious mind through the breath, we're telling the body, hey, I've got it. I've got control of the breath right now. You can stand down. It's safe. And so when we take control of the breath in a conscious, mindful breath, like breath work or even just a few deep breaths, we're communicating to our bodies, you're safe.
That's amazing because like we all have heard about breath work, and some people really take it very seriously and they live by it, and other people can be a little bit flippant about it. But hearing what you just said there is so much actually going on by simply taking that deeper breath that I didn't realize. So thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
Oh,
I'm
thank
not going
you.
to underestimate breath work from now on.
Yeah, it's really transformational. And I want to say something that is a little controversial in that the intensity of the breath has nothing to do with the transformation on the other side. So there is a place for the breath work that has people crying and wailing, and there's high value in that. But if that doesn't turn you on, it's okay to find a practitioner who guides you in a more gentle way.
I didn't realize that was a thing as well, that the breath
Oh,
work release all of that. So from my perspective, it brings you back into that. So you're
hmm
turning back on the parasympathetic nervous system, which then allows, I guess, in very basic, and please correct me if I'm wrong in this, it allows everything to just settle. And instead of having this, I don't know, these blinkers on, it opens things up a lot. And you can see more options and possibilities and take those, I guess it turns the logical brain on a little bit as well. And so you can take those calculated actions, decisions. Is that right?
Exactly. Because when we're in a stress response, we go into what's known as the brainstem, and the brainstem has one goal, and that is survival.
Yeah.
And so when we're in that stress response and we're only in the brainstem, we don't have access to our really high level decision making because we're not in that part of the brain. And when we activate the vagus nerve and we tell that brainstem, hey, I've got you, we're safe, then we can begin to bring energy and functioning back up into the brain. Another trick to do this is crossing the right and left meridian of the body. When we cross the right and left meridian of the body, meaning cross your hands like from one side to the other, we're also activating the right and left hemispheres of the brain. So that's why like a butterfly tap where you tap one shoulder gently, then the other shoulder with alternating hands can be really supportive. If you do that while you're taking your breaths, it can speed along the process of coming into that rest state.
That's amazing. And so what benefits do your clients see by doing just that in all aspects of their life, not just with their, if they're speaking or leading? What benefits have they noticed by just doing the breath work and calming everything down, bringing themselves back into their body, so to speak?
So a lot of the people that I work with are in very high stress jobs, physicians, educators, and what they notice is they start to have more time for themselves because they're not in their minds all the time. They're able to delegate a little bit better. They're able to make better decisions around time blocking so that they have more time, and feeling like they have their time back gives them chances to engage in their creative pursuits. And a lot of people in these high types of professions, like maybe they're a doctor in a hospital or an educator at the end of their career, they want to start a side hustle and they want to begin to be an entrepreneur. If their nervous systems are always pinging danger, danger, they can't even remember what to do. They can't remember what actions to take. And so then we find people who have all the coaching certifications, they've opened the business, they're a functioning doctor, and no one knows they have a coaching business because they don't talk about it. So that would be a really tactile, specific example. So the benefit of doing this kind of work in conjunction with somatic coaching is that they can now begin to talk about it. It feels safe. So it's just, have you ever gone into the refrigerator to look for something and you could not find it no matter what you did? And you got frustrated, you stopped thinking about it, and then you went back the next day and you saw it right in front of you?
Yep.
It's the same phenomenon that happens in our lives. So if we're in that stress state, we can't see the solutions.
Yep. Yep. I experienced that. It wasn't the refrigerator, but I experienced that exact same thing recently. We went away for the weekend. It was our 20th wedding anniversary. And I had come back to the room after being in the sauna and the spa, as you do. And I was getting changed and I was going to go and meet my husband for dinner. And I put the key onto this table. I thought I put it on there when I came in. And when I went to leave, it wasn't there. And I know I had it because I'm in the room. Okay, so it has to be in here somewhere. And I'm looking everywhere. And I understand, because I'm a big law of attraction junkie, and I understand the vibrations and the problem and the solution vibrate at different levels and all this sort of thing. So if I know you're in here, I can't see you because I'm trying to find you and I believe that you're lost. And I got down on the floor and I'm looking under the table. I'm looking everywhere. Can't find it. So I ended up going downstairs, getting a new key. The next morning, sitting, and I woke up, sitting in bed, having a coffee, and it's, oh, there it is. Where I looked, mind you, it was under the place where I thought I put it. It's like, oh yeah, there you are. It's when you'd turn up. It's like, but it just blows my mind that it was there the whole time, but I couldn't see it.
That's a great example, Helen.
It's a mind-blowing experience.
Yes, that's exactly a perfect example. Thank you for that.
So thank you for all of that as well. So I interrupted you earlier. You said, and there was a second thing you wanted to talk about, because I was asking you, what are the, I guess the...
Yeah, so the one issue is the nervous system, which we've just talked about. The second thing is talking about energetics. So I'm an energy healer, and I'm going to come at this from an energy healer perspective and then weave a little bit of science into it. We know from the study of attention that there is attention residue. So if we go to task switch, we know that it takes a moment for us to actually switch, 23 minutes, as a matter of fact, 23 minutes to task switch. So if we have attention residue, we also have energetic residue, meaning if you go from one call to another call, then to a meeting, then out for dinner, you're taking little bits and pieces of every single interaction with you. And we know from the Institute of Heart Math, they've done a ton of studies on heart magnetism and the heart-brain coherence. And we know the heart will activate another person's heart non-locally, which means you're connected to people that you aren't necessarily in the same room with. So if you add this up day after month, you're carrying a lot of energy that's not yours. And it can impact people in the sense that they are feeling each other's emotions. They feel like heaviness and the weight of emotions. They can feel brain fog and fatigue, and they can feel like almost confusion. It's not quite confusion, but it's like a lack of clarity. And there's one really simple fix, which is to protect your energetic field. And this is especially impactful if you are an empath. So if you're an empath and you're taking on emotions of people anyway, this is going to be game changing for you. And so I like to teach it in a zip up method. And so you can bubble up or do whatever you want visually, but this is the way I like to teach it because I'm really tactile. And so if you're really tactile, you'll love this method. If you prefer not so tactile, you'll like the zip up method. And really the end goal is the goal. We don't care how you get there. So you get to pick your choice, but I just zip up from the base of my torso up over the back of my head like I'm zipping up a parka, and I do it 3 times. Do you want to try it now and just see how it feels?
Sure.
Yeah.
Touching myself, or is it just in front of my
Just
body?
in front. Yeah. Yeah. And then you'll notice, actually, I want to just ask, what do you notice?
I felt a little bit more, I don't know, I don't have a word. I felt a little bit more,
Yeah, grounded. Grounded. You felt a
yeah,
little bit more grounded.
a little
Yeah.
bit more grounded. Yeah.
And it's interesting because you feel lighter and grounded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. And that's really very simple. Because when you were saying we're taking on this energy, it's like, how do we stop taking on that energy? Because that is going to be heavy after a while. So
Hmm.
you can just do that 3 times, however often you want, whenever you
However often
feel.
you want. I recommend twice a day.
Okay.
I joke, it's like brushing your teeth twice a day,
Yeah.
whether you need it or not.
Yeah.
And I used to have a phone alarm set every day at 7 a.m. and at 12 p.m. zip up because I knew that if I didn't remember to zip up, my day was going to be really different than I wanted it to be. And so I had those alarms on my phone for probably 5 years until finally I was like, okay, I can remember to do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that can be something fun to try.
And is that like just a sort of a clearing reset of your energy?
Exactly. So if you've ever gone to any like new age or crystal shop, sometimes you can get an aura picture taken. And the aura is just showing you your electromagnetic field. It's showing you your chakras. So we know through science that each and every one of us has an electromagnetic field. And when you zip up your field, you're creating this energetic sovereignty for yourself. And that's the feeling that you had when you said, I feel grounded. It's
Yeah.
energetic sovereignty.
So tell me then the scientific side of that for the people who think that all just sounded like a little bit of it.
Oh, I love that they think it sounded like a little bit of, and the truth is, it is, but a lot of it is actually based in science and in grounded practices.
Yeah.
So we'll just say both and then we'll go from there. So we know if it doesn't even have to be in a new age shop, you can go into a science lab and stand in front of certain kinds of cameras, and the name is escaping me, but you can actually see your electromagnetic field on a screen. So there
Really?
was a
What?
children's science museum that we used to go to
Mm.
when my daughter was little, and you could stand in front of the screen and it would track your electromagnetic field. And so it's the same type of science as the night goggles, where they can picture the warmth and that's how they can see in the dark. It's the same type of theory where you actually have this field around you that's measurable, but you can't see it because it's energy. Just like we can't see electricity until it goes through the coil of the light bulb. Doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's not there.
exactly. That's amazing. So I wanted to back on what you were saying before when we were talking about the nervous system as well, and just how important it is to get that under control because it's not just how you're feeling, there's all the ripple effect then of all the hormones that are being pumped
Hmm.
through your body and then the effect on your health. So do you do anything specifically around that, or is that just a benefit that comes from getting your nervous system under control?
It is a benefit that comes from getting your nervous system under control. And I'm imagining you're talking about like the adrenaline and the cortisol and bringing in the
Yeah.
serotonin and the dopamine. Yeah. So that definitely can shift with the breath. I want to say though, it would be similar to eating a salad one day and then saying, I haven't lost any weight. What's wrong with this diet if you only do it once? It
Yes.
comes with consistency and it comes with practice. So if
Mm.
you add breath or whatever somatic practice you have into your life in a consistent way, then you'll begin to see the benefits. And it doesn't have to be lengthy. It could be 8 to 15 minutes for really profound results.
How often?
Daily.
Yeah, just once a day. Just once a day,
Yeah,
though? Okay.
I would say at a minimum, yes. At
Yeah.
a minimum. For me, like I was doing breath work before I logged in with you. And I do breath work as a reset in the middle of the day, and I do reset breath work in the morning. So you can customize it based on what you need. But I would say at a minimum, breathe every day.
Breathe every day, people.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic, because it's like everyone can afford 8 to 10 minutes once a day.
That's right. And it doesn't have to be that you stop your life. You could do a breath pattern while you're taking a walk and make your breaths even with your steps. You could breathe while you're doing the dishes. You could just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth while you're cleaning up at the end of the night. You could breathe even for 2 minutes before you go into a meeting. It doesn't have to be that your whole life stops to breathe. It can be.
Yeah.
That can feel really good if it
Yeah.
does stop to do that, but it doesn't have to be that way.
And are there different ways to breathe in the breath work?
There's a lot of different ways. And
Yeah.
there's breath that will activate, there's breath that will calm, there's breath to release certain emotions, there's breath to activate the pineal gland. So there's a whole menu of breath patterns that are available. But a really common one that a lot of people probably know is the box breath. And that would be like a count of 4 to inhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold that exhale out. That's a great one.
And what does the box breath help with when you were talking about calming, releasing emotions? What's the box breath good for?
The box breath will really help regulate the nervous system. It'll bring that vagus nerve back online. It'll help calm. It'll create a sense of clarity in the mind. And it's really soothing. I was a music teacher for 26 years in public schools, and I used to use that pattern before I was ever trained as a breathwork facilitator because I just saw the result in my students. So you can teach it to your kids too.
Yeah, it's a really easy one. It's something, not all the time, but sometimes in my yoga practice, the teacher will get us to do that box breathing. There's some sort of breathing that happens at the beginning of the class to just get everyone to ground onto the mat. And the box breath is one that is sometimes used. Yeah. Oh, so that's fantastic. So that's a great tip for people, and that's something simple to do. And how many rounds of that box breath is going to be effective?
So I would say, depending on your thought process and your emotional state, you are either going to really want to count or you're not at all going to want to count. And so I'm going to give you an answer for both. So if you're a counter and you are going to really enjoy 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, that kind of thing, I would say 20 to 40, depending on how much time you have. If you are like, I cannot count, I'm way too angry, I'm way too upset, I just need to breathe, then set a timer for 2 to 4 minutes.
Okay, that's even simpler, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no excuses, people.
That's right.
And like you said, you do this, it's like you don't go to the gym once and go, why haven't I lost weight, or why don't I have a six pack? You've got to consistently do this. And the more you do it, the better the benefits are going to be, I would imagine.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And specifically when we're talking about people who are in those leadership roles and those high stress jobs, there's a lot of, I can't stop, I'm too busy, I have to keep going, you have to keep hustling, you have to be boom, there's no time. So what do you say to people who perhaps in that sort of mind frame?
That sort of mind frame is very much taught to us by our culture, that we have to hurry, it must be fast, it has to rush. And so I'm going to give you an answer and then I'm going to give you a reframe. So the answer is take some breaths while you're going from meeting to meeting. Just take the time to take a deep breath. No one even has to know you're doing it. You could do it in the middle of a board meeting if you wanted to. The key is pay attention to where your tongue is. Because when you're in stress, your tongue is probably crammed up against the roof of your mouth. So if you can relax that tongue down into the bottom of your mouth and take some deep breaths, it's not only going to give you the mental clarity, but you'll also notice a reduction in the tension that you have in your neck and shoulders, which is very common if we're stressed.
Yeah.
And taking time to go to the bathroom, which high achieving leaders often will not want to inconvenience somebody. And so they hold their bladder, but that's not good. It's not good for their mental health. It's not good for their physical health. And when we roll it back and we just think from zooming it out just a little bit, every one of us is a human being who has bodily functions, and you get to use the bathroom when you need to go. And it's one of the biggest things that you can do for your self-care and as far as creating agency and sovereignty in your leadership. Because if you're holding your bladder, you are trying to rush to the end of things because you know you have to go. You're not thinking clearly. You're uncomfortable. And it's one of those things that people think, oh, if I just hold it for 15 more minutes or 30 more minutes, it's going to be so much better. But the reverse is actually true. The really powerful, empowered, respected, grounded, calm leaders are taking care of their physical functions. And that means that they allow themselves to drink the water that they need to feel good because they're willing to go to the bathroom. Right?
Yes. Yes. Because we don't drink water because then we think, oh, I've got to go and pee more. And then, no, that's love it.
Exactly. So that's some reframes that you can do with the busyness. But then the second thing that I would offer is everything on your to-do list actually need to be on your to-do list. Because if you're like most of us, my guess is there's a lot of things on there that don't need to be on there. They could be delayed. They could be delegated. Maybe they could be just completely eliminated, because sometimes when we're in a stress response of busyness, we start to add to our list because it makes us feel like we can control something. And then we look at the list and it's as long as our arm. And so part of the thing is dialing that back so that we're in a regulated, calm state and we can look at things from a holistic perspective and think, is it really necessary for me to do? And that is one of the biggest things that leaders can do to move to that next level. Because if they're not doing this type of thing, they are their own bottleneck.
Yeah, we can get busy being busy and not actually being productive. So what, and there may not be like a one answer sort of thing, but what sort of makes us not want to delegate and cause that bottleneck, thinking that, no, I have to do everything myself?
I think there's more than one answer to this, but one of them would definitely be perfectionism. We want it to be done perfectly, and we're scared to delegate. And this is actually another big thing for leaders. Really effective leaders have learned to delegate. And it's really tough to do because it requires us to have a really clear list of what our operating procedures are. It requires us to have clarity. It requires us to set boundaries. And I don't know how many of our listeners are male or female, but women very often feel like they can't set the boundaries, but setting those boundaries is essential because that's going to make it so much easier for you to do all the other things. Take things off of your list and delegate. And when you delegate, you can actually communicate what it is you want to be delegated so that it can be done correctly.
Yeah. There's so much underneath, isn't there? Because if there's the whole being judged and criticized. So if I do it all myself, it has to be perfect. So people don't judge me and criticize me. I give it to somebody else and maybe they do it better. Then I'm going to be judging and criticizing myself. And we're such complex beings, I think, and our insecurities really come to the forefront. So is that something that you also help your clients with?
Absolutely. And so when somebody says, I'm scared that the person that I'm delegating to does it better than me, I'm going to flip that and I'm going to say, that means you're a strong leader.
Yeah.
Because that means you don't actually have to do that thing anymore because the person who you've delegated it to has it handled. That is actually strong leadership. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be really excited about because it means you've done a good job training and hiring your team.
Mm. It's like the sports coaches, isn't it? And that my perspective of the role of a coach is to be able to bring the best out in each individual and how they perform and what they do, because it's, especially in team sports, it's not one person that should have all the responsibility, and teams don't work like that anyway. So if you can bring the best out in the people, bring out their strengths, bring and put them in the places where they do shine, that's it just has to make everything better in the long run for yourself, for them, for their ripple, in all aspects, really. So I love that
Yeah.
you help people to reframe things, because it just is perspective, isn't it? And our perspective can sometimes be skewed because of whatever our experiences are, our memories, our beliefs, our values. And
Mhm.
sometimes a simple reframe is all you need. Sometimes you need a little bit more than that and go deeper into if there's been trauma in a
Mhm.
person's life. So is that something that you can do as well?
Yes, actually, and that was the third thing. At the very beginning, you asked what three
Mm,
things could hold a leader back from going to that next level. And unhealed trauma or child parts or protector parts, which we all have these parts based on IFS therapy, which was founded by Dick Schwartz in the United States. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. And it's just a way of thinking about the self having little pieces and parts that kind of break off in time that they didn't have their needs met. And so they go through life trying to get those needs met in ways that maybe aren't healthy. And so, for example, if I would have gone up to the stove while my mom was cooking dinner when I was 8 and wanted her attention, and she said, I just need 5 minutes, in my little 8-year-old heart, that could have felt like rejection. And so I might have a little part that wants attention for the rest of my life. And until I
mm,
heal that part, that little 8-year-old's going to come with me into the boardroom. And
right.
if I get triggered, my 8-year-old is going to be driving the show. And so that's
Better
what
than the 2-year-old, but still not, you don't want the 8-year-old
yeah,
there. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Excuse me. And so that's what I help people do with the somatic coaching. We try to find the root belief and the root causes. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's child parts, sometimes it's protector parts. And so we really do a deep dive in that work, and it's mind blowing. So I trade sessions every week. I have for almost 2 years with another somatic coach. And every week I'm shocked because I'll come in and I'll say, here's what I think I want to work on. And then it leads to somewhere completely unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that too, because we think we know the problem, but then that's our logical brain, and we can talk ourselves in and out of anything. So it's great to have somebody who's got that separation to actually
hmm
see what's going on that we can't see, because we can't always see ourselves. We can't always see our behaviors and the things
That's
that trigger
right.
us.
That's right.
Mm,
I always say you can't see your nose. You can't see your own
yeah.
nose. And sometimes having somebody witness your process, just being witnessed is enough to begin the healing.
Okay. This is fascinating. I'm loving this conversation. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Or is there any other things that, oh gosh, I feel like we could talk forever around what you do. Are there any big sort of takeaways that you want to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, I think paying attention to your energy and what makes you feel good and what makes you feel not good is a beautiful starting place. And it's something that will absolutely change everything. And so I have an energy audit available for free on my website. It's brendawinkle.com/audit. And within 5 minutes, you can start to categorize things that fuel you, things that deplete you. And when you start to pay attention to that, you can make more intentional choices. Because sometimes, like you were just saying a moment ago, we can pretend like something's okay when it's not. And when you start to actually track it, you'll realize, oh, that thing that I was doing isn't actually feeling good at the end of the day. And that other thing I was totally taking for granted is amazing. I want to do more of that.
Yeah. Awareness is key for everything, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
With the energy audit, can I tell you the story of how it started? I was
Yeah.
traveling full time. And I was just traveling in my Prius with my dog across the United States. And I would just go to an Airbnb and I would stay for a month or so. And I was traveling. Then in the meantime, my dad got sick and eventually died. And so I was able to be with him. And that was such a blessing. So I was very aware of my energy because I was in that raw grief state and I was still traveling. And I was having a great time until I wasn't. And then I was getting ready to move from one Airbnb to another, and I had a panic attack. And I hadn't had a panic attack in decades, so much so that I didn't even realize that was what was happening until someone else named it for me. And then I was like, oh, you're right. That's what this is. And I thought to myself, something's really wrong here if I'm at a place that's elevated enough that I can have a panic attack. So I decided I was going to track everything for a couple of days to try and figure out what it was. So I was just using a notebook and it was so eye-opening. I realized that because of my grief state, traveling felt exhausting because I had to make new decisions around where to stay and what neighborhood and what kind of home and that kind of thing. So I decided I was going to ground again in Portland, which is where I started. And that's when the healing began because and it wouldn't have happened had I not been tracking that energy. And so then I further developed it. So there's a PDF if you like to print and write things, but now I use a digital copy. So I include the digital copy as well. So if you like drop down arrows on spreadsheets, that'll be fun. They're all different colors.
Fantastic. All right. So where can people get that again?
BrendaWinkle.com/audit.
Fantastic. And look, that is it's simple, but it's powerful in that you've got to have that awareness. And what I was going to ask you before was around where you were saying focus on what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And again, that is such a simple thing. And I think somewhere along the line, we've overcomplicated everything. And we can take for granted the things that feel good and we can sometimes just dismiss them as, yeah, it's meant to. Whereas if you can actually recognize those and focus on those, then the more good things are going to start to happen in your life. And the more you can make changes and whatever it needs to be, whether it's internal or external or both. And you were talking about boundaries before. It's all well and good to, okay, I'm going to set this boundary, but you have to enforce the boundary. Otherwise, there's no setting the boundary.
That's right.
Yeah, we can all set them. We don't enforce them. So making those changes, but you can only do that when you're aware of what needs to change and keeping it as simple as, okay, this thing makes me feel good and this thing doesn't. That's as deep as it needs to go sometimes.
I agree.
Yeah. So don't discount the simple things like the breathwork. Don't discount what is simple because it appears too simple.
Simple works.
Simple works. And we all tell ourselves, I want it to be simple. I don't want drama. But then when the simple thing is presented,
I want 35 steps. Where are my 35 steps?
I don't have time for 35 steps. I wish it was more simple. So and if that's your program, become aware of it and then question it and go, okay, how's that working out for me? It's not, let's try something different. I love that you've got these simple things that people can start. They can start with the breath work. They can do that energy audit. They're things that are free. Anyone can do it. Anyone can start it at any time.
That's right.
Go from there. And if you're a leader and you're watching this or you're in a high stress position, or I guess they don't necessarily have to be a leader or a high stress. You would work with
you could be an at-home mom. You could be
which
a
is
retired
a high
person.
Position.
That's right. It's probably the highest stress position.
The lowest paid, highest stress position.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, it's not profession linked at all. And in fact, there's nothing on either of the paper or the digital the digital copy that says anything about a specific type of work. It's just asking you, did this feel good? Was it necessary? Is there an alternative? Is there a way that makes it feel better?
Fantastic. I love it. And then if you want to take that next step and you want someone to help guide them, then they can reach out to you, Brenda, because we all need help at some point. There's a lot that we can do on our own. And if we're one of those sort of people that's, I don't need help, I'm a strong, independent woman, fantastic. We all need help at some point. And if that help is going to then make your life easier, as in me, then the ripple effect of that is incredibly powerful as well, because it's not just you. We don't live on islands. Whether we
That's right.
think we're impacting people or not, whether we think we're an influencer or not, we are influencing people based on how we show up. And the more we feel good, the more positive ripple effect we're going to have, and have that rub off onto other people around us.
That's right. And your people are learning from you every day in every interaction. And so, like you say, there's a ripple effect. I always say healing heals forward. So everyone in your ecosystem benefits from our own healing, which is so beautiful.
And and they don't, I remember when my daughter was tiny, she would have been maybe 2, and we bought her a little gardening kit, and in it was the little pot plant, and it had the base that you sit the pot plant in. And anyway, so she was playing one day, and my husband's come home and she's got the pot plant, and then she's put the base on top, and she's drinking a coffee. And he's just, so this is what you do. And it's, I swear, we don't. We must, obviously, we've done it at some point, but people, what's that saying? Do as I say, not as I do, sort of thing.
Yes.
But they're doing what you do. Talk is cheap at the end of the day. Words are just words, and people will look at what you're doing, and that seems to have more of an impact.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we're not fooling anyone when we're putting on the fake smile and saying, "Things wonderful."
That's right. We're not fooling anyone.
Especially kids. And that moment just blew me away at how much they're taking in of what you don't even realize that they're taking in.
Absolutely. I remember going to dinner one night there were 3 kids there, and there were 2 adults, and I got a glass of wine, and I was swirling the wine on the table. I hadn't even taken a sip yet. And next thing I know, I looked over and there's 3 kids swirling their milk. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to be very mindful here.
Oh, it's amazing.
Thank you so much for having me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. I've loved it. Absolutely loved it. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I think that I love Gandhi's words, be the change you want to see in the world. And I think there's a lot of darkness right now in the world. And it's easy to think that darkness is winning, but that's never been true. And it's not true now. And while we may not be able to change policy, we may not be able to change governments, you can change your world and the world that is for the people in your community, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your town. And so don't underestimate the power that you have to change the world by the choices that you make.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And it's the one thing that we can actually control.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brenda. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today and tuning into our conversation with Brenda, who shared how regulating your nervous system is the foundation for clarity and calm leadership. If you would like to explore Brenda Winkle's work further, be sure to check out her free energy audit. You will find all the details in the links below. For more empowering conversations, tools, and strategies, follow Sacred You on social media or visit our website at www.sacredyou, that is the letter U.love. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button or give us a like so that you never miss another episode. In Brenda's own words, use your breath to shift your nervous system and access higher thinking. Stay grounded, stay inspired, stay connected, and until next time, keep walking your pathway to well-being.